Hey guys, Alex here from Trademate Sports, and today I'm going to be taking you through what middle betting is, or also known as middling. Now, middling is very similar to arbitrage betting in that it basically tries to exploit differences in prices between bookmakers. Now, you can do this in both Asian handicap markets and over-under markets. Keep that in mind as we go along in a few of my worked examples here. But basically there are three types of middling. There's inverted or Polish middles, people call them. There is positive middling, and then there's also negative middling. And I'll take you through each of those methods and run you through some examples of how exactly they work. But before I go through it, if you guys could please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get a notification every time we post a video like this.
It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
So the first type of middling I'm going to take you through today is called positive middling, and it means that no matter what the outcome of the sports game, you are going to win, albeit big win or a small win, you're going to win this bet. And taking you to my screen for an example, I'll be using the Liverpool versus Arsenal game. Now, for these kind of positive middling situations to occur, you need bookmakers to be pretty different in the lines they're offering, or you need to pounce on moments where there's been a change in the market, there's been a swift move, and one bookmaker's been really slow at changing their handicap line or their over-under kind of line. So in this case, we've worked out the stakes, so it works out perfectly in that we can make a profit no matter what. And here are the odds. So Liverpool -2 at 1.9, Arsenal +3 at 2.25. And what I'll do now is I'll go through a few worked examples of all the possible outcomes and how exactly you win no matter what. So on my screen you can see here that I've outlined on my 4 slides the 4 possible outcomes. So the first outcome would be if Liverpool win by less than 2 goals, or the game is draw, or Arsenal win and Liverpool lose. So in that case you would lose the -2 bet, but you would win the +3 bet for Arsenal, and so that would be your profit overall. The second outcome that incurs a small win is if the opposite happens, if Liverpool win by 3 or more goals. So you win the -2 bet, but you would lose the +3 bet on Arsenal. Outcome number 3 and 4. Now this is where you can make some really serious money. And the reason why you win lots of money is because one of the bets voids and one of the bets wins. So the reason why it voids is because Asian handicaps work that if, let's just say, in this case, you have Liverpool that win by exactly 2 goals, but you had Liverpool -2, that means it's basically Liverpool draw no bet. So in this case, your stake gets refunded. But if you were doing a different handicap or a European handicap it is referred to, then you would lose that bet. But in Asian handicap situations, your bet is voided. So in this outcome, it's voided and you win the Arsenal bet, which means you profit exactly that amount of money that you were supposed to. I showed you in the example before. And the other one, the exact opposite happens. So Liverpool win by exactly 3 goals, which means your Arsenal bet voids and then the -2 bet for Liverpool wins. So that takes you to a nice little profit of $46.35. So that's exactly how positive middling works. No matter what the outcome of the game, you're going to win. But the optimal outcome is if one of the bet voids and you win the whole stake on the other bet. The next type of middling is called negative middling. And in this case, it's not a sure win. Most of the time you'll actually lose money, or at least you're expected to lose money, but you'll be losing a really small percentage of your money or a small stake. But when you win big. So taking you over to my screen, in this example, we're going to use the over-under goals market, and with the game of a Real Madrid versus Barcelona, you're going to bet under 3.5 goals at 190, and you're going to bet over 2.5 goals at 190. So the first thing you'll probably notice here is that there's a little sweet spot here where you can win both bets, and that's where negative middling can really work out for you. So you're going to stake $100 on each outcome. There's 3 different outcomes that can occur. First one would be that the total goals scored in the game is 4 or more, which means you win this bet here at 190, but you lose the under 3.5 goals, which means a loss of $10. The opposite, 2 or less goals are scored, which means this bet loses and this bet wins. Overall, a loss of $10. And then lastly, like I said before, the outcome that you want to happen is that exactly 3 goals are scored on the game. So in this case, you win both bets, you make $90 in each one, meaning a nice profit of $180. So I guess the question is whether it's worth placing negative middling bets. And the best thing to do is obviously use the maths here. So if you think about it from in this example here, you need that bet to win 1 in 19 times for it to be break even. So in other words, if it happens 1 in 18 times, you have a plus EV strategy. If you hit the middle once every 20 times, you have a negative EV strategy. So break it down even further. How many times in a football game is there going to be, if we're using this example here, is there going to be exactly 3 goals? Or, maybe you're middling the under 4.5 and the over 3.5. So you're looking for exactly 4 goals. So figuring out whether this is a profitable strategy or not is kind of a case-by-case basis, and it depends on whether the true odds for exactly 3 goals or exactly 4 goals, exactly 1 goal, all these kind of scenarios, is plus EV. And that the true odds of that outcome outweigh how many times it takes you, or how many times it mathematically should take you to hit those middles. So in this case, I would say it's plus EV, because all you need to do is hit the middle once in every 18 times and you have a plus EV strategy. And if you look at the odds or the chances of it being exactly 3 goals in a Premier League game, most of the time you'll see the odds hovering around the 4 to 5 odds range kind of mark. So if you take away the margin, we're looking at maybe 1 in every 5-6 times, every 1 or 5 to 6 times in EPL games, that a situation where 3 goals is scored will happen. Now that's just a very basic average, but it's kind of around that mark. So in this case, we're saying that we're getting a strategy that is effective, or it's plus EV if it works 1 in every 18 times. But if you look at the actual probabilities of you hitting that middle, it's more so around the numbers of like 1 in 6 or maybe 1 in 7 or something like that. So in that case, it's a plus EV strategy. But if you're trying to hit a middle of like a goal amount that doesn't really happen too often, like maybe like you're trying to get exactly 6 goals to hit that middle, or 10 goals or something like that, then it might get a little bit trickier in terms of whether it's worth it for you or not. But I think in this example, if you want to hit the middle of exactly 3 goals, it's plus EV. The last type of middling is called Polish/inverted middles. Either of those is fine. And as opposed to the last example of negative middling, where you want the score of the game to finish it right in the middle, this one you want it to fall outside of the middle. So where you're going to make your big money is if it doesn't land in the middle, it lands outside of the middle. I'll explain on my screen here. So with this game, go back to Liverpool versus Arsenal. We're betting Liverpool minus 3.5 goals. We'll put $100 on each at 2.25, and Arsenal plus 2.5 goals at 2.25. Most of the time, you're going to make a small profit, but then every now and then, you're going to make a huge loss. So let's look at this strategy. Liverpool win by 4 or more goals. You win the minus 3.5 bet on Liverpool. You lose the plus 2.5 bet. Little profit of $25. Second outcome that could occur is the opposite. So Liverpool win by 2 or less goals, or they draw, or they lose, which means you win the Arsenal bet, but you lose the Liverpool minus 3 bet. Still, you happen to get a $25 profit. The last outcome here, and the worst outcome that could happen, is if the game ends up in the middle. So like I said, with inverted middles, you want it to land outside of the middle. So here, Liverpool win by exactly 3 goals, it means you lose both of the bets and a total loss of $200. So the question now is, like the last example or last method, is Polish middling worth it? And what you have to ask yourself is, if you lose the first bet, let's say it lands in the middle, Liverpool win by exactly 3 goals, you lose $200. How long is it going to take you to make that money back? Well, it'll take you another 8 games to get that money back. So if it's going to land in the middle more than once in every 9 games, that means it's a losing strategy. But if it's only going to land in the middle once in every 10 games or once in every 11 or more than that, then it's plus EV. So working out whether it is a plus EV bet is quite tricky because it kind of depends on each game. In this situation, Liverpool to win by exactly 3 goals, it's pretty unlikely, but maybe it's more likely in a game like Liverpool versus Burnley, or a Liverpool versus, just one of those lower end teams in the league. But maybe if they're playing like a Man City, the chances of them winning by 3 goals is very unlikely. So then, maybe it's more worth it. So I'm not going to say which situations it works and which it doesn't, because it all just depends on the maths and the situation. But overall, you just need to be aware and, work out whether it's plus EV before you start placing some of these types of bets. So to conclude, it's probably worth mentioning whether it's worth having middle betting as a part of your repertoire, and it definitely is. I think it's a tool worth having. There will be situations every now and then that might arise, and you might be able to place a sure bet and make money on a game no matter what the outcome is. So in that way, it's definitely a worthy tool. The only problem is that these situations will be pretty rare, especially in football. The lines are pretty similar across bookmakers. So to find these situations, you're really going to need a massive swing in the market where maybe an injury occurs, or someone's ruled out of the game, or maybe there's significant weather problems, something like that. So yeah, it will be rare that you'll see these situations, but it's definitely a tool worth having. But thanks for watching, everyone. Please make sure you like the video if you did enjoy the video and you got something out of it, and subscribe to our channel. And hopefully we'll see you around at another time. Cheers.